El Chapo's wife is finally out of prison and seems to be sending a clear threat to the United States. Her presence at Milan Fashion Week felt less like a celebration of fashion and more like a strategic flex of the return of the Capo's wife. With El Mayo in U.S. custody and the Los Chapitos fighting for control, her return comes at a critical time for the Sinaloa cartel in the United States. Let's get into it. El Chapo's wife sends a clear threat to the U.S. Emma Coronel Aispuro, the wife of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, is once again drawing attention as she eyes a return to public life. Emma grew up in a world that flirted with the edges of the law, shaped by her father's alleged ties to the Sinaloa cartel. Her quick marriage to El Chapo in 2007 transformed her from a local beauty queen to the queen of one of the world's most powerful drug empires. In 2021, Emma's carefully cultivated image took a hit. She was arrested and accused of conspiring to traffic illegal drugs and of assisting in El Chapo's infamous 2015 prison escape. Her arrest had a lasting effect on both the public and the criminal underworld, placing her life under an unforgiving spotlight. Later that year, she received a 3-year sentence, one many saw as lenient, perhaps influenced by her cooperation with authorities and her role as a mother to twin daughters. Now, with her sentence served, Emma is reportedly planning a comeback that has already sparked speculation. Milan Fashion Week, the ultimate stage for style and sophistication, took an unexpected twist this year when Emma Coronel Aispuro strutted down the runway. Her appearance wasn't just about making a fashion statement, it was a jaw-dropping moment that left the fashion world and beyond buzzing. Emma, a former beauty queen, has always had a knack for commanding attention, but this time she dialed it all the way up. Draped in a lavish wedding dress, she lit up Palazzo Cerbaloni, not just as a model, but as a living symbol of her royal wedding to El Chapo back in 2007. The gown wasn't just couture, it was a calculated nod to her controversial past, a reminder that the empire she once walked into might still cast a long shadow. Unsurprisingly, Milan's fashion insiders scrambled to separate themselves from the drama, but the ripple effect was undeniable. Emma's strut down the runway was a bold statement, an unspoken pledge of loyalty to her husband, even as he serves a life sentence in a maximum security U.S. prison. This is why, for them, sending this message was important. After all, it is not the first time that Guzman and Coronel have used their clothing to send messages to the world, to the press, to the authorities, and above all, to the enemies of the cartel. And let's not forget El Chapo's legendary reputation. Notorious for his prison breaks in 2001 and 2015, his capture and extradition in 2016 was a major win for law enforcement. Yet even behind bars, his legacy seems far from locked away. Emma's catwalk cameo was more than a fashion moment. It felt like a carefully crafted power move. Was she sending a signal to the United States, or perhaps to rival factions in the Sinaloa cartel, that their reign still stands strong despite the chaos? Internal feuds or not, the cartel continues to dominate the drug game, and her appearance might have been a public flex, a subtle but unmistakable "we're still here." Her decision to reappear so boldly also has people wondering what's next for her. Could this be the start of a comeback or even a pivot to something new? Some say this might hint at a willingness to work with U.S. authorities, a major twist that could flip the entire cartel narrative. With whispers that El Chapo might also cooperate with the feds, this runway moment might have been less about fashion and more about laying the groundwork for new alliances or backroom deals. Let's not forget, Emma isn't just riding on old tales. There's speculation that she's branching out, like investing in cosmetic surgery ventures as a way to boost influence and loyalty. She's always been about blending beauty with strategy, and this move wouldn't be a surprise. Aispuro also took a surprising turn in her public re-emergence, appearing Monday on the Univision program Despierta America to discuss her entry into Mexican regional music. She has chosen to model for the upcoming music video of La Señora, a narco corrido penned by none other than Mario El Cajoro Delgado, a composer infamous for glorifying cartel culture. Delgado is best known for tracks like Un Corrido Pa Joaquin, a ballad that lionizes El Chapo, casting the drug lord as a victim of injustice rather than a violent kingpin. In it, the lyrics boldly rewrite Guzman's bloody legacy. Coronel's involvement with Delgado's latest project, La Señora, which is a narco slang for the capo's partner, further intertwines her public rebranding with the cartel's cultural footprint. During her interview on Despierta America, Coronel confirmed she closely reviewed the song's lyrics to ensure they resonated with her story. "I listened when they were writing it, the entire song, what every part said. For me, it's important and it resonated. I mean, it's about me and everything that has happened in my life," she said. The conversation avoided her past connections to the Sinaloa cartel, and instead portrayed Coronel as a woman eager to start fresh, focused on business, and as Collins described her, despite the polished narrative, Coronel's responses during the interview were less than captivating. Doesn't Doesn't it weigh on you that, well, you're going to return to being in the public eye, and that has both good and bad consequences? Collins asked. Well, yes, but it's like everything else, no? Cornell replied, offering a mix of cautious optimism and resignation. Everything has bad consequences. Everything has good consequences. And at the end of the day, something always comes up. So why not do something that benefits me? Because I see it as something good. As La Señora prepares for release, Cornell's involvement in a narco-corrido project tied to glorifying cartel narratives complicates her public reemergence. While she frames her participation as part of pursuing personal ambitions, it raises questions about how far she's truly stepped away from her controversial ties. Whether the video marks a pivot to a redefined identity or an inability to escape her legacy remains to be seen. In a 10-minute segment with host Maria Antonietta Collins, Cornell explained that her involvement in the project came from a modeling opportunity tied to her friend's music endeavor, lightly connecting her to a new song featured in her debut. While short on details or elaboration, her statement pointed to an effort to leverage her controversial fame for a new chapter in the entertainment industry. Emma's planned re-entry into the public eye also invites broader questions about her next steps and how she navigates the lingering legacy of her husband, who remains imprisoned in the United States. That's anyone's guess, but if this appearance was any clue, Emma isn't fading into the background anytime soon. Why should the United States be bothered by a perceived threat from El Chapo's wife? Aispuro's reemergence points to the ongoing connections and unresolved threats, especially after the role she played in the Sinaloa cartel after El Chapo's imprisonment and extradition. More than a wife. Emma Cornell Aispuro is at the center of a high-stakes chess game that could reshape the power dynamics of the infamous Sinaloa cartel. Her 2021 arrest sent ripples through both the criminal underworld and law enforcement circles, sparking a wave of speculation about the potential fallout. Could she be the key to cracking open the cartel's seemingly unbreakable armor? Despite El Chapo's 2019 life sentence, the Sinaloa cartel remains a powerful and dangerous force, infamous for its sprawling drug network and ruthless control tactics. However, Emma's arrest was a wild card that authorities were hoping to play to their advantage. Having tied the knot with El Chapo at just 19 years old, Aispuro was charged with conspiracy to distribute narcotics and helping her husband pull off his jaw-dropping 2014 escape from a Mexican prison. The escape, which shook governments and made headlines worldwide, proved just how deep the roots of the Sinaloa cartel's power went. According to Damaso Lopez Nunez, a former insider who snitched on the cartel, Emma was pivotal in delivering instructions between her husband and his lieutenants. The plan itself was daringly intricate. A nearly mile-long tunnel was carved out beneath Altiplano prison, starting from a nondescript house nearby. This wasn't your average dirt crawl space. It was fitted with ventilation systems, lights, and even a customized motorcycle on rails to ferry materials, and eventually Guzman through it. Emma's position allowed her unrestricted access to pass along El Chapo's orders, serving as the lifeline that kept this ambitious operation on track. On that fateful night, El Chapo slipped through a hole in his cell's shower area, descended into the tunnel, and rode the modified bike to freedom. It was a move so dramatic and embarrassing for Mexican authorities that it not only exposed systemic corruption in the country's prison system, but also solidified the Sinaloa cartel's image as untouchable. Unsurprisingly, bribes to prison officials and guards played a major role in ensuring the operation went off without a hitch. Of course, 2015 wasn't Guzman's first Houdini-esque act. In 2001, he famously escaped from prison by hiding in a laundry cart, but Emma's alleged escapade didn't end there. Court documents paint her as the mastermind, scheming another breakout after El Chapo's recapture in January 2016. Even under heightened scrutiny, whispers about a prison break 2.0 floated within cartel circles. If true, it highlights Aispuro's brazenness and unparalleled resourcefulness in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. Details of the plot are still guarded secrets, but one thing's clear: if anyone was going to script an escape for El Chapo, it was his fearless and cunning wife. After his second escape from a high-security prison in 2015, he was recaptured in January 2016. The Mexican government, under immense pressure from the United States, decided to extradite him. This decision was a significant reversal from their earlier stance, where they insisted that Guzman would serve his sentence in Mexico first. The extradition process was fraught with legal battles, as Guzman's lawyers filed numerous appeals to block the move. However, a federal court in Mexico ultimately denied denied these appeals, clearing the path for his transfer. On the night of January 19, 2017, El Chapo was flown from Ciudad Juarez, near the Texas border, to Long Island MacArthur Airport in Islip, New York. This transfer was strategically timed to coincide with President Obama's last night in office, symbolizing a final act in his administration's efforts to combat international drug trafficking. The extradition was a collaborative effort between Mexican and American authorities, showcasing the international cooperation required to tackle such a formidable criminal enterprise. Upon his arrival in the United States, El Chapo faced a litany of charges, including drug trafficking, money laundering, and involvement in organized crime. These charges were a testament to his role as the leader of the Sinaloa cartel, one of the most powerful and violent drug organizations in the world. The cartel was responsible for smuggling vast quantities of cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and marijuana into the United States, generating billions of dollars in revenue. The extradition highlighted the Mexican government's commitment to cooperating with international partners in the fight against drug trafficking. It was a demonstration of their willingness to take decisive action against powerful criminal figures, despite the risks and challenges involved. This move was also seen as an effort to restore public confidence in the Mexican justice system, which had been tarnished by Guzman's previous escapes. El Chapo's extradition also had significant implications for the Sinaloa cartel. With their leader behind bars in the United States, the cartel faced potential instability and power struggles. This created an opportunity for law enforcement to further dismantle the organization and disrupt its operations. However, Aispuro's role in this real-life drama raised eyebrows globally. Was she just a fiercely loyal spouse following her husband's lead, or was she an influential operative embedded in the cartel's hierarchy? From managing complex logistics to taking on significant risks, her involvement suggests she was far more integral than she'd like the world to believe. Though Aispuro publicly denied any direct involvement, maintaining that she knew nothing about the breakout, her constant appearances in court during El Chapo's trial sent a different message.
Que El Chapo fue extraditado, has estado en cada audiencia y ahora, desde que inició el juicio hace casi un mes o ya un poquito más de un mes, has estado, yo te he visto personalmente todos los días en corte. ¿Por qué es importante para ti estar ahí?
Bueno, yo pienso que es lo que haría cualquier esposa en mi lugar, ¿no? Estar con su esposo en momentos difíciles que son los que está pasando en este momento.
Her steely resolve and unwavering presence only deepened the intrigue surrounding her role. The trial itself felt like a soap opera on steroids. Allegations of bribed officials, including presidents, shocking accounts of jail escapes, and lavish tales of the cartel's life of excess, all spiced with courtroom bombshells and drama. In the courtroom, El Chapo's trial was a spectacle in itself, drawing international attention and media coverage. The proceedings revealed the inner workings of the Sinaloa cartel, exposing the corruption, violence, and vast network of operatives that sustained its operations. Witnesses, including former associates and law enforcement officials, provided damning testimony against Guzman, painting a vivid picture of his criminal empire. Aispuro's involvement, though, stands out as an emblem of the larger dynamics of organized crime. Her audacity and calculated moves beg the question, what role do women like her play in drug empires, and where does loyalty cross the line into complicity? Although Aispuro efforts were instrumental to the Sinaloa cartel and keeping them afloat after El Chapo's imprisonment, she was also not left out of the United States' suspicion. El Chapo's wife's arrest. In 2021, Aispuro, El Chapo's wife, was arrested in the U.S. on suspicion of drug trafficking and money laundering. Aispuro, holding dual U.S.-Mexican citizenship, faces charges that read like the script of a crime saga: conspiracy to distribute cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin, and marijuana in the United States. But prosecutors weren't just concerned with drug trafficking. They accused her of masterminding the grandest jailbreak the world had ever seen. When El Chapo escaped from a maximum security Mexican prison in 2015, the feat captivated and stunned onlookers globally. And at the heart of this audacious plan, they claimed, was Emma Coronel. Coronel's seamless involvement in such a daring escapade revealed the depth of her connection to the cartel's inner circle. Despite all of it, Aispuro claimed to have no knowledge that her husband is a drug trafficker before her arrest.
Un poquito, unos años atrás, tal vez unos 5, 7 años atrás, tú has dicho en otros momentos, Emma, que pues hasta inclusive has dudado que tu esposo se dedicara a lo que dicen las autoridades y muchas personas que se dedican, que es al narcotráfico. ¿En algún momento tú notaste algo raro dentro de tu casa?
Claro que no.
Aispuro's legal team argued that she was merely a devoted wife and mother, focused on raising her twin daughters and managing the family's affairs. They contended that she was not involved in the cartel's operations and had no knowledge of Guzman's criminal activities.
Hicieron demasiado famoso que siento que ahora que, por ejemplo, cuando estamos en la corte y escuchan como que comentarios o que no, él no hacía esto, no era esto, y cuando se termina el juicio y que no lo ponen los medios de comunicación, digo...
This defense was met with skepticism, particularly given the extensive evidence presented during Guzman's trial. Testimonies from former associates and intercepted communications painted a picture of a tightly controlled criminal enterprise, with Guzman at the helm. Additionally, she faced charges of money laundering and aiding in the management of the Sinaloa cartel's operations. In June 2021, Emma pleaded guilty to the charges against her. As part of her plea agreement, she voluntarily forfeited $1.5 million to the government, acknowledging her role in the cartel's financial operations. Her plea was seen as a significant victory for law enforcement, as it underscored the U.S. government's commitment to dismantling the Sinaloa cartel and bringing its members to justice. During her sentencing, Emma expressed remorse for her actions. Through an interpreter, she begged for forgiveness and vowed to teach her daughters the difference between right and wrong. Her emotional plea highlighted the personal toll her involvement in the cartel had taken on her family, particularly her young daughters, who faced the prospect of growing up without their mother. The Justice Department initially sought a 4-year prison sentence for Emma, but the court ultimately sentenced her to 36 months, followed by 48 months of supervised release. This decision took into account her level of involvement in the cartel, as prosecutors described her as a cog in a much larger criminal machine rather than a leader or organizer. By June 2023, Emma was moved from a federal prison in Texas to a halfway house in Long Beach, California, a standard step for inmates showing good behavior. This transitional period gave her a chance to adjust to life on the outside. Just a few months later, on September 13, 2023, she was officially released, stepping into her newfound freedom and a world forever marked by her past. Now, Emma's release marks the start of an entirely new chapter. Her story speaks volumes about the reach of the Sinaloa cartel and the personal sacrifices demanded of those caught in its web. Many are asking, what's next? Will she carve out a fresh path, distancing herself from El Chapo's legacy, or will she remain tethered to the cartel's influence? The arrest of Ismael El Mayo Zambada, a legendary figure in the Sinaloa cartel, left a power vacuum that could redefine the cartel's future. Known for his strategic brilliance and his uncanny ability to evade capture for decades, El Mayo's leadership had been pivotal in maintaining the cartel's dominance. With his removal from the equation, questions surrounding succession took center stage, and all eyes turned to Emma Coronel Aispuro and the Los Chapitos. Her intimate knowledge of the cartel's operations, combined with her charisma and intelligence, made her a formidable contender for leadership. However, her path to power was fraught with challenges, not least of which were the Los Chapitos. The Los Chapitos, El Chapo's sons, had long been known for their ambition and ruthlessness. Ivan Archibaldo Guzman and Jesus Alfredo Guzman had been entrenched in the cartel's activities for years, gaining a reputation for their aggressive tactics and willingness to use violence to assert their control. Their youth and boldness sharply contrasted with Emma's more calculated approach, setting the stage for a potential power struggle within the cartel. The dynamics between Emma and the Los Chapitos were complex. While bound by familial ties, their visions for the cartel's future could differ sharply. Emma's leadership style, shaped by her experiences and upbringing, might prioritize strategic alliances and the stability of the cartel's existing networks. In contrast, the Los Chapitos might lean towards expansion and aggressive tactics, focusing on asserting their dominance and securing their legacy. An alliance could consolidate their power, blending Emma's strategic mind with the Chapitos' operational experience. But a rivalry could spark internal strife, weakening the cartel and creating space for rival factions to gain ground. As Mexico braced for possible violence and instability, the government and law enforcement agencies stayed on high alert. The power vacuum left by El Mayo's arrest could fuel further violence, as factions within the cartel fought for control. The outcome of this leadership struggle had major implications, not only for the Sinaloa cartel, but also for the broader landscape of organized crime in Mexico. The cartel's ability to bounce back from its leaders' arrests is practically legendary. Thanks to its decentralized structure, the organization has weathered countless storms and kept its operations running like a well-oiled machine. Yet Emma's situation is unlike anything before. If she flips, it could reveal hidden vulnerabilities, creating chaos in the cartel's vast drug empire. Her case brings back memories of others who turned against the cartel cartel, like the Flores twins, Peter and Jay. Once top-level traffickers, they became key witnesses against El Chapo, offering U.S. prosecutors a rare peek behind the cartel curtain. Similarly, Vicente Zambada Niebla, son of current kingpin Ismael El Mayo Zambada, cooperated with authorities and spilled insider details that struck another blow to the cartel. However, the potential fallout of Emma's cooperation could go even further, challenging the age-old cut-off-the-head-of-the-snake approach that law enforcement has relied on. Critics argue that arresting high-profile leaders only scratches the surface, as the cartel quickly adapts and replaces its fallen figures. Experts say it's time for a fresh strategy, one that tackles the root causes of drug demand and the corruption that feeds organized crime. As a convicted drug felon herself, Aispuro's legal troubles complicates any potential visit to her husband or form of communication. In 2023, El Chapo's desire to see his family was strong enough to lead him to pen a letter to the judge. The letter, translated into English and added to his court file, offered a rare glimpse into the personal side of a man notorious for his ruthless nature. The request, however, was met with skepticism and ultimately denied. El Chapo was subject to special administrative measures, a set of highly restrictive rules designated for prisoners considered the greatest threats. These measures are intended to prevent high-risk inmates from continuing their criminal operations or posing dangers to others. Given El Chapo's history, including a previous escape that made international headlines, authorities were understandably cautious. Former federal prosecutor and ABC7's chief legal analyst Gil Soffer explained the situation, noting that the likelihood of El Chapo receiving visits from his wife was slim. The risk of him using his wife to orchestrate something nefarious was too high. The rules at Supermax are strict, and even if the family were cleared for a visit, they would face rigorous dress codes and security measures. Garments such as revealing shorts, halter tops, see-through clothing, spandex, or attire resembling inmate uniforms were all prohibited. Now that Aispuro is out of prison, her vendetta against the United States is still pretty unclear. Will she break the Sinaloa cartel wide open or hold fast to her loyalty? Her next move could be a game changer, redefining how authorities combat one of the world's most dangerous drug empires and setting a new precedent for the war on drugs. Click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this.